In this video, I want to tell you how to stop being a zombie. And for the purposes of clarification about that last statement, I'm not talking about being one of the undead. But so many of us go through our lives on autopilot that we might as well be brain dead. Think about it for a moment. You probably take the same route to work every day. You take the same ride on the same bus. You have the same breakfast. You have the same conversation with the same people. You perform the same tasks throughout your working day. You get home at the same time and you sit in the same place. Am I right? Well, if I am right, I'm afraid you're not alone, because lots of people do this and they find that their whole lives are run on autopilot. They don't need to wear a watch because they do the same thing at the same time every single day. And some people go even further than that list of things I just mentioned. They'll have the same thing for lunch every day. They might wear the same type of clothing every day. Okay, if you wear a uniform to work, you don't have any choice in it, but sometimes people wear the same sort of clothing every day. And it's the same thing over and over again. And sometimes it's done for convenience because you don't have to make the same decision over and over again. But really, while that has that advantage, it's also a big disadvantage, because your brain is actually set up to make decisions. So if you're not using it to make decisions, part of it just simply switches off. So how can you change this? How can you make your life more interesting so that you're not a zombie going around on autopilot? Well, first of all, try taking a different route to and from work. Now, if you've worked at the same place for a long time, you probably have your route down to a T. You know what time you're going to leave, you know how bad the traffic's going to be, and you know what time you're going to get there, and so on. So what you could do, if you don't want to be late for work, is perhaps have a different route home from work. So obviously the time isn't quite so pressing then. But a lot of people will use a sat-nav or GPS to plan a route, and that's what everybody does. But personally, I find a good way to plan different routes is to use Google Earth. If you log on to Google Earth, either as the standalone app or as the part of Google Maps, you can look at your route, you can look at your neighborhood, you can see all sorts of back streets that you might not know about, and you can plan a route from that and give yourself plenty of time. But it does make life more interesting because you can see different things on your route to and from work. Alternatively, where it's practical, take public transport instead of driving your car. And when you do this, it has another advantage in so far as you're going to be surrounded by other people all the time. Now, if you drive to work on your own, you can get very isolated, and being around other people as part of public transport can be quite stimulating. Even if you don't talk to them or interact with them, you can still, just physically being around other people can have an effect on your brain. Another thing that you can do is to try different types of food. Eat out more often if you can afford it, and try a different type of cuisine. So if you've been past, say, a Korean restaurant and you've never been in and you don't know what Korean food tastes like, well, book a table and have a meal there, and then you'll know, and you can try different types of food. And you might like it or you might not, but at least you'll know what it's like, and it'll be something else that you can add to your list of life experiences. Something else that you can do is to join a club or an organization. Now, this is great because you'll meet new people, first of all, people that you don't know before, and you'll get to socialize with like-minded individuals who are nothing to do with your work. So many people, their work life and their social life is exactly the same, and so you meet the same people all the time. And you don't really have a life outside work, and that can get very boring. So if you join a club or organization, you'll get to socialize with people who are nothing to do with your work and can bring something else to your life. Also, you could buy a CD or a download from a band that you've never heard before. Just pick one at random and see what they sound like. or from a different musical genre to the one that you always listen to. Lots of people listen to the same music all the time, same type of music. But if you generally listen to rock music, try listening to jazz or classical music. It's different, but you might like it, you might not, but at least you'll be exposing your brain to some different type of stimulation. Something else to do is to go somewhere that you've never been before just to see what it's like. And you don't have to travel far to broaden your horizons. That street that you drive past the top of every day, well, why don't you turn down it next time just to see where it goes? In all these things, try to be mindful and live in the moment. And when you do, your brain will light up and come alive, and you'll get a reprieve from your stresses and problems. Better yet, you'll form new neural connections, which will once again help you to become sharper, smarter, faster, and more creative and more alive. And your quality of life will increase exponentially.